All right, I want to say ETM Hotep. This is your brother Wu Jiao, and welcome to the Seshu Ma'ani Metaneture YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. And just gonna kind of stall a little while. We haven't done a show on YouTube in a while, and I know that people have subscribed and they should receive notifications and share the link. Tonight, I want to give a quick lesson and discuss grammatical gender in relation to the ancient Egyptian language that we refer to as Ranykemet. All right. So before I begin, if someone who is watching now, first of all, I appreciate anyone who's tuned in. If anyone who knows how we do this, it's on the spot, out the blue. So I appreciate anybody who jumps to it, jumps right on in and listens in. So before I continue, if someone who's watching already could let me know that I could be heard and my screen could be seen. All right. The audio and video is okay, then we'll proceed. And while we wait, I'm going to continue to talk, but while we wait, please be sure to support and check out our websites. As you see on the screen, we have sabauniversity.com. That's the website where we host our study courses. We have a beginner's course. We also have a grammar's course, which is an advanced level for the language. There's some other free lessons that are on the site as well, so make sure you check it out. That's sabauniversity.com. And then we also have seshmeduneture.com. That's the home of the Seshu Ma'ani Metaneture. All right, so on that particular website, we have blog articles covering various different topics related to the language and the culture of ancient Kemet. Some of the topics that were very popular topics over the years, such as spaceships existing in the glyphs in certain temples, aliens, did the Egyptians live with dinosaurs? Various different topics. Then we have some transliterations and translations that are done by various students of our scribal institution and members of the Seshu Ma'ani Metaneture as well. All right. So make sure you check out that website. Also on that website, we have what we call a Per Majat, which is our library. So we have resources that you can gain access to, download. So make sure you check that out. All right. So, and if you're watching, share this video to anybody who you feel is maybe interested in this topic. So let's jump in. So tonight's topic, as the video says, it is about grammatical gender. All right. And this is grammatical gender as it relates to ancient Egyptian or Ranykemet. All right. So now when we first talk about gender, in everyday normal conversations, this is what most people are referring to, what you see on the screen, which is when you think of gender, you think of female, a girl, a woman, or a male being a boy or a man. So that's the normal day-to-day use of the word gender. But as we're going to discuss, we're speaking about grammatical gender. All right. And there's a difference. OK, so we have to make sure we understand and know the differences and when to use them. All right. So we're going to make sure we understand that. So grammatical gender. What is grammatical gender or gender? All right. So first we have to understand that gender is a grammatical category. All right, it's a grammatical category considered to be an inherent quality of substantives. Now, most people will usually refer to substantives as nouns. In case you are not unfamiliar with the word substantive or substantives, it's another word for nouns the way we use it today. All right. So again, gender is a grammatical category considered to be an inherent quality of substantives. All right. Now I want to pause right there because in order to really grasp this, we first have to understand what is a grammatical category, because gender is a grammatical category. All right. So we're going to kind of put a tack in here and we're going to come back to this. So we're going to first move into and describe or define grammatical categories. All right. So what are grammatical categories? A grammatical category, which is also known as a grammatical feature, is a property of items within the grammar of a language. It has a number of possible values, sometimes called grammemes, which are normally mutually exclusive within a given category. All right. So examples of frequently encountered grammatical categories includes tense, which may take values such as past, present, etc. Another grammatical category, number, with values such as singular, plural, and sometimes dual. Then we have gender, and this is what we're discussing. We have gender with values such as masculine, feminine, and neuter. Then we also have a category of a value within the grammatical category of person, with the values such as first person involving the speaker, second person involving the hearer or listener, and third person involving any others. Then we have another value of voice, with the values such as active, which means the subject performs the action of the verb, or passive, which means the subject doesn't perform the action of the verb. All right. And grammatical categories may be divided by type. So there's two types. All right. Nominal and verbal. So the nominal grammatical categories are number, gender, person, case, degree, definiteness. Then we have verbal grammatical categories such as tense, aspect, mood, and voice. All right. So that's what grammatical categories are in a nutshell. All right. But to continue, and this is the important point that we have to understand as a feature within various different languages, especially the ancient Egyptian language. All right. So what's the role of these grammatical categories? The role of grammatical categories and their interactions with syntactic categories form a system of agreement. Now that's very important to understand and remember. So grammatical categories and their interaction with syntactic categories form a system of agreement. Okay, just quickly here. So we have syntactic categories, which are several in number. And then we have grammatical categories, which are the ones that I just named. They work together. All right. And they form a system of agreement. All right. So what does that mean? Okay. So to continue. So for example, we say that the verb loves agrees with the noun Nefertari in the sentence Nefertari loves her husband Ahmos. Notice that we use loves. This agreement is partially based on the category of number. That is, whether the noun is singular or plural. It is also based on the category of person, which covers the distinctions of first person involving the speaker, second person involving the listener, and third person involving any others. The different forms of English pronouns can be described in terms of person and number. We use I for the first person singular, you for second person singular, and he, she, it or even Nefertari for third person singular. So in the sentence, Nefertari loves her husband Ahmos, we have a noun, Nefertari, which is third person singular. And we use the verb loves and not love to agree with the noun. All right. So in other words, we wouldn't say Nefertari love her husband Ahmos. We have to say Nefertari loves her husband Ahmos with the S on it. All right. So this verbal form here has to agree with the subject. All right. So hopefully everyone understands that. Now, in addition, the form of the verb must be described in terms of another category called tense. In this case, the verb loves is in the present tense, which is different from the past tense loved. The sentence is also in the active voice. Remember, voice is another category. So the sentence is in the active voice describing what Nefertari does. That is, she performs the action of the verb. An alternative would be the passive voice, which can be used to describe what happens to Nefertari. That is, she doesn't perform the action. So as in, Nefertari is loved by her husband Ahmos, or just Nefertari is loved. So you see there Nefertari is not performing the action. The action is being performed on her. She is loved by her husband Ahmos. That's the difference between active and passive voice. So remember, voice is a grammatical category for verbs. Now, to continue, our final category is gender, and this is what we're discussing tonight. And this is going to be brief because it should be pretty straightforward. So our final category is gender, which helps us to describe the agreement between Nefertari and the word her in our example sentence. So in English, we have to describe this relationship in terms of natural gender, mainly derived from a biological distinction between male and female. The agreement between Nefertari and her, the word her, is based on a distinction made in English between reference to female entities, which are she and her, male entities, he and his, and things or creatures when the sex is unknown or irrelevant, such as it and its. Okay? So this is, in English, a biological distinction is made. All right? So here are those grammatical categories again. So we have nominal and verbal. Nominal, we have number, gender, person, case, degree, definiteness. And on the verbal side, we have tense, aspect, mood, and voice. All right, so we just now went through a couple of these on both sides, the nominal and the verbal side. We discussed tense just now. We discussed voice. And on the nominal side, we discussed number, gender, and person. Okay, so, but I want to focus on for the rest of this discussion is gender. All right, so remember, we're discussing grammatical gender. So remember, gender is a grammatical category. All right, and it's inherited quality of substantives or nouns. All right, so now remember I said we're going to put a thumbtack in here and go over grammatical categories. So now we're going to, untack it, and we can continue now. So now that we got that under our belt. So common gender divisions include masculine and feminine, masculine, feminine, and neuter in English. We also have animate and inanimate. There are some languages that have the gender of animate and inanimate. English, we don't have that. So a lot of us may be unfamiliar with that distinction. In a few languages, the gender assignment of substantives is solely determined by their meaning or attributes, like biological sex, like what I just showed you. Nefertari being a woman, we would use a pronoun she or hers or her. All right. We have humanness, and then we have animacy. However, in most languages, this semantic division is only partially valid, and many substantives may belong to a gender category that contrasts with their meaning. For example, and then we have the image below. So this image below is the word shinit. All right. And it is describing a court of men, an entourage of men, usually an entourage of the king, and so on. But this word is a singular feminine substantive or noun, but yet it is a word that refers to a group of men. Okay, so this is an example of where the biological sex is in contrast to the grammatical gender of the word. Okay, so this is why it's important to understand the difference between biological sex, as we would normally discuss this, you know, female, girl, woman, and male, boy, man, with grammatical gender. All right, so we have to keep that in mind. And there's some overlapping. All right. So in this case, the gender assignment can also be influenced by the morphology or phonology of the substantive, or in some cases can be apparently arbitrary. So gender assignment of words, it can be based on biological sex of a human or an animal. It can also be based on the morphology of the word or the phonology of the word. Okay, or it can be completely arbitrary. And usually when we see it as being completely arbitrary, there's usually some historical reason behind that. And by historical, I mean a long history of the language, and possibly from the language parent of the language from which it comes from. All right, through time. Now in English divides substantives into three genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. Whereas Ranykemet, or ancient Egyptian, distinguishes only two genders. That's masculine and feminine. Now in Ranykemet, most substantives are either masculine or feminine, while some substantives may exist in both genders. So what does that mean? So you can look at it this way. So in Ranykemet, or the ancient Egyptian language, all of the substantives, in other words, all of the nouns that we call words that we call nouns today, they are either masculine or feminine. Okay, so you can look at them as two sides of a coin. When you toss a coin in the air, it's going to land on either heads or tails. There's no such thing as a sideless coin, a coin that doesn't have any sides. So likewise, the substantives or nouns in the ancient Egyptian language, Ranykemet, all of them are either masculine or feminine. But there are some substantives that have a masculine and a feminine form, whereas the rest of them exist in one or the other. Okay, so that's important to understand. All right, so when a noun or a substantive is used, it's going to be masculine or it's going to be feminine. Okay, so think of it that way. So now let's show some examples of exactly what we're talking about. So remember that grammatical categories and syntactic categories, they work together to form a system of agreement. And so this is the purpose of gender. Okay, this is how gender functions. Okay, and we're going to see this. So we have the system of agreement, also called concordance. All right, so make sure you take note of that. All right. So on the left-hand side, we have grammatical gender, which are only two, and Ranykemet, which is masculine and feminine. In our next column, we have substantives, which most people are used to calling them nouns. And there's a reason why we refer to them as substantives and not nouns. But for the sake of this discussion, just make sure you understand that when you see substantives here, it's what you would refer to as a noun. Next column are adjectives, and the third column are demonstratives. All right, so here's the example of a masculine scenario. So we have a word, which is the word z or si, and it means man. That's the meaning of the word. All right, this is how it looks in the glyphs, si. Now, if I want to describe this man by using an adjective, by the way, this substantive is masculine, it's singular, all right, z. So when I want to describe this man with an adjective such as excellent, which in the language is eker, this particular adjective also has to be masculine and singular. All right, so this is what's meant by concordance or agreement. It has to agree with the substantive that it's modifying in gender and number. Now, we're only discussing gender, but it has to agree in both gender and number. All right, so this is masculine word, and this is a masculine adjective. All right, the excellent man. All right, now demonstratives, for those who may not know or remember what demonstratives are, they're the words in English such as this and that. You know, that the words that point out a thing. All right, this and that. Okay, and it kind of lets you know nearness as well, because if I say that over there, it's further away than this right here. Okay, but we call those demonstratives. And so these demonstratives also have to agree in gender and number with the substantive. Okay, so in this case, it would have to be masculine and singular for the word this. And in the language, the word this in the masculine singular is the word pen. So altogether, we would say z eker pen. And this would be saying this excellent man. All right, all of these are in agreement. Now, for the feminine example, we're going to use the word for woman, which is zit. Now, notice, remember when I said that in Ranykemet, all substantives are either masculine or feminine. But there are some substantives that exist in both genders. And this is an example. So we have z in the masculine, and we have zit in the feminine. This is the feminine form of the word. All right, and it means woman. And by the way, this particular example is based on biological sex, because men, masculine is associated with men, and feminine is associated with women. All right. But now, when I want to describe the woman with the same adjective to be excellent, I have to put the adjective in the feminine form. And this feminine form is marked with this bread loaf, this glyph that you see here. And you also see the glyph here. All right. So now we have zit ekeret, the excellent woman. Okay. Now, when it comes to demonstrative, the same applies. For the demonstrative, for the feminine form, feminine singular form, it is 10. For masculine, it was pen. And for the feminine, it's 10. So notice that the P changed to a T. And so it's this excellent woman. And before we had this excellent man. Okay. So all of these words have to agree. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Now, but what this also tells us is that the gender of the substantive, what it does, it acts as a trigger for target words. So the adjective and the demonstrative would be targets. These are target words. And in linguistics, the more proper way of naming these words in this situation would be constituents. So these would be the constituents within the sentence or the phrase. And so the substantive acts as a target for the constituents in order to force them to agree in gender and number. Okay? So that should be pretty straightforward. But let's look at another example. So remember, this one is more so a semantic assignment, gender assignment, meaning that masculine, you think of a man, you think of men. Feminine, you associate that with women. All right, so that's more of a semantic assignment. But let's look at an arbitrary one. All right. So here we have another example, another set. So we have masculine again. This time the substantive is aped, which means bird. Okay, this is a masculine and singular substantive, aped, which is bird. Now, if I want to describe this bird, in this case, I want to say small bird. So the word small is najes. Najes. So it has to be in the masculine and singular. And so in the masculine singular form, it is najes, small bird. So the demonstrative, this, is the same as the other example. This is the masculine. So we have aped najes pen, which means this small bird. All right. The feminine. Here's a feminine substantive. It's the word for book, and it's the word majat, which means book. Well, literally, it means papyrus. We know in ancient times they didn't have books like we have books per se today with a spine and so on. So it's the word for papyrus, but today we would call it a book. All right, so majat is book. Now, if I want to describe this book as a good book, I would have to say neferet with this bread loaf again. All right, because this word is feminine, the adjective or the constituent has to be feminine. So this is the trigger. The gender is triggering this constituent to also be feminine. Majat neferet, the good book. And likewise, this gender of the substantive is also triggering the demonstrative, which is also a constituent. And it's 10. So majat neferet 10, which is this good book. All right. So that is the purpose of grammatical gender. All right. Now, I want to make this clear. Grammatical gender of words don't change the meanings of words. They only function as we can see, it only functions to form a system of agreement. Okay, remember that. Grammatical gender functions in a way that it sets up a system of agreement. That's its effect. That's the effect that gender has in the language. Okay, in sentences, clauses, and so on. Okay, so that's what it is. A trigger to form a system of agreement. And this is true for all of the cases where you have a substantive and then you have other words that are related to it, such as adjectives, demonstratives, etc. All right. And we also have pronouns that I'm not showing that will also have to agree in gender and number. Okay. So that's the purpose of grammatical gender. All right. So remember, just to review, normally when we talk about gender, we're simply talking about a man, a woman, boy, girl, male or female. All right. and is neither here nor there. But when we're talking about language and it becomes a linguistic conversation, now we have to keep in mind that we're talking about grammatical gender. And so what is grammatical gender? Grammatical gender is a quality of substantives, but it functions as a trigger in order to set up a system of agreement among other constituent words. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So I'll repeat that. Remember, gender or grammatical gender, it is a quality of substantives where those substantives act as a trigger to force the constituent words that are used with it to agree. So it sets up a system of agreement. And we call that agreement also, we call it concord or concordance. All right. And this is a feature within Ranykemet. It's a feature in English. It's a feature in most languages around the world. Not all, but most. All right. So remember that. That's pretty straightforward. So I just want to touch on that and make this real short and simple and to the point. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you, if you're also on Facebook, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're also on Facebook, make sure you join our Facebook group. All right, this is what you see on the screen. Seshu Ma'ani Medunecher, which actually translates as the loyal scribes of divine words. The word ma'a is the masculine form of the word ma'at, since we're speaking about gender. Okay, ma'a, which means it can mean loyal, which is true, law, true, loyalty. When we use the word loyal, you're saying you're true to something, you're loyal to it. So we describe this phrase, Seshumani Medunecher, as loyal scribes of divine words, aspiring to become true scribes of divine words. And so you see that we play on that word ma'a for its both of its meanings. All right. But anyway, make sure you join our Facebook group if you have any questions. There's a lot of information there. We've had the group for I believe over 2 years now, and so there's a lot of information. If you scroll through, a lot of discussions, and it's very active. So make sure you join and get your questions or comments or anything. All right. And also, I can't leave without letting you all know this. Also support Heka Apparel, hekaapparel.com. Because it's the holidays, everything on the site is 20% off. All right. So it's you know, sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, shoes, hats, you name it. Check out the site. Everything is 20% off, and there's a coupon code of holiday20. All right. So make sure you check that out. Support. I know the holidays are coming up. Get something for yourself. Get something as a gift to somebody else. And make sure you check it out and support. All right. So I'll take a brief moment to see if there's any questions or comments in the chat. And I know there's a delay. So if you had a question that you typed already, repeat that. Or if you have any comments, now's the time to put it in there. So I'm going to take a moment and check those out. All right. So let's see. Now, there shouldn't be any questions, but if there are, it's no problem. I'll make sure I do my best to answer them, because this is very, very simple and very straightforward. Now, it may be new, but it's not hard. It's not rocket science or any of that. You know, it may be new to some people, but it's very easy. It's very straightforward. All right. So I'm scrolling through, and and I do not see any questions. Okay, and that's a good thing. So that means that everybody understood it. So, let me know if this is straightforward. I'll tell you what. For everybody who understood everything, just press 1. Press 1 if you understand, or you grasp it, but you gotta let it sit and marinate for a little bit. So either one, press 1. All right, just give me some indication. Okay, I do see a comment by Pan-African Designs and Apparel. He says, my thing is if the glyph that's supposed to mean black doesn't mean black, that pretty much means all of glyphs are wrong. Now, there's a problem with that statement. Well, one, it's not on this topic that we're discussing about gender. All right, so I would like to keep it on topic, but the statement outside of that, the statement is also, there's a problem with that statement. And so what I would recommend there, you would have to definitely learn how the writing system works. All right. And what I want you to do, this is for Pan-African Designs. What I want you to do is look up the word homograph. Homographs. All right. Look that up. And you're going to find out that homographs are words that are spelled alike, but they mean they mean different things. They're not the same word, although they look alike because they're spelled alike, but they're not the same. Okay. Like for example, the word, you have homographs, which are the same spellings, but they can be completely different words. And then you have homophones, which are words that sound alike, but are completely different words. And then you have words that are a combination of both of those. They're spelled alike and they sound alike, but they can be completely different words. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to look up homographs. All right. Because when you say that the glyph that's supposed to mean black doesn't mean black, then all the other glyphs are wrong. Then you're ignoring the phenomenon that we call homography or homographs. All right. So you got to keep that in mind. All right. So, but again, like I said, that is a bit off the topic of gender. Matter of fact, make sure you join our Facebook group, or if you already remember the Facebook group, make sure you post it, type that in, because that's a separate topic, and it's not a problem. So I'm gonna keep on going. Let's see, and I see a son at Ranykemet has already responded to that. Okay, that's good. And let's see. Okay, everybody's hitting one. Everybody's hitting one. So, hey, that made my job a lot easier. Okay, my job is done. All right, that's what I like. Everything is done. So that's good. I get a chance to keep this video short and simple and to the point, bite-sized and digestible. So what I'm going to do next for the next video, just to let you all know, heads up, I'm going to discuss something called a portmanteau morph or portmanteau morphs. All right. And this is a feature in many different languages, and it is important for us to understand this feature. Okay. So tonight I just briefly discussed gender, grammatical gender. And so the next video I will be discussing portmanteau or portmanteau morphs. All right. And I'll explain what they are and why we should even know that that's an actual feature. All right. And it's going to help people to understand how the language works, and it will untangle and unconfuse people when such questions come up about meanings of different words. Okay, so with that, I think I am done. So remember, the topic was grammatical gender, and make sure you check out the websites. If you're interested in learning language, mind you, this is not meant to be an exhaustive study or course, what I've done tonight. But if you want to learn more, make sure you sign up for our beginners Seshmeter course, and it's on sableuniversity.com. And if you are already competent at a beginner's level, you've already taken a class or you've been studying on your own and whatnot, and you may have studied or taken a class under another teacher in the past, but you need a refresher, then hey, make sure you check out the website. And also make sure you check out seshmeternetra.com. All right, it's a lot of information there and a lot of resources. All right, we have the monoliterals, we have the biliterals that you can study. We have transliterations, translations, resource materials such as dictionaries, and all of that good stuff. All right, so make sure you check those out. And it's the holidays, so whether you celebrate Christmas or not, or Kwanzaa or not, or any holiday, it's the holiday season. You know, that's like the generic way of referring to it. Even if you just celebrate winter, that's fine too. If you like the cold and you want to celebrate the cold, that's fine. But make sure you check out Heka Apparel. All right, everything is 20% off. The prices are low. Different designs or whatnot. You know, just check it out and pick up something for yourself. Pick up something for relatives, loved ones, friends. All right, and I will see you all on the next video, or I will see you in our Facebook group. So with that, I will say Shem Hotep.